All right. Hello and welcome. I wanted to jump in here live and just share with you like a few things I've been playing around with and things I just want to like jump in here and straighten out any misconceptions you may have regarding self-pleasure, sex, orgasm, and how exactly that relates to your feminine energy. So the first thing I want to kind of jump in here and clear up is we have this like understanding of energy as a force that pushes, that molds. I mean, that's a very masculine essence of energy. And we miss out on the magic of energy being able to yield and soften and allow, right? Where there's no need to force or manipulate or change what happens. And the more like we actually start to connect to this feminine energy, this feminine essence, the better your orgasms will be. And sometimes like that can seem very counterintuitive, right? Because we want to have the orgasm. We want to have this awesome sexual experience. We want to feel alive. We want to feel lit up. So let's make sure like we do these things in order to get us there. But what happens is that actually ends up like creating stuckness. You get stuck. And here's the reason why. It's because you're actually not diving into your current experience. You're trying to mentally construct, right? What is going on? What experience you should have in there, right? There's some inherent judgment as to what you may actually be experiencing is wrong. And that creates constriction, that creates disconnection, that creates tension in your body, which are all things that hinder orgasm. So the magical thing of a self-pleasure practice, it definitely has elements of like this mechanical masturbation, right? Pleasuring experience, but that's not where it stops. It also encompasses, right? Like your experience, how you're feeling, what's coming up. Are you feeling orgasmic? Are you not feeling orgasmic? Is your body giving you permission to continue, or is your body telling you to stop? Are you sad? Are you happy? Are you angry? Are you joyful? Right? And really allowing yourself to actually work with those experiences instead of trying to change them, using your sadness or your anger or your confusion or your numbness actually as a path leading you to orgasm, right? So instead of trying to like change that experience, instead of trying to go, well, I can't experience this, I have to experience pleasure or orgasm, actually using that experience of like numbness, sadness, or anger as a pathway is actually what's going to lead you to your orgasm. Otherwise, you're always going to be bumping up against this ceiling. And maybe many of you have like even experienced this in the past and may not have necessarily noticed that, right? Where maybe you already have like a practice where you masturbate, and you allow yourself to feel pleasure and see what's going on there, right? But you never able to either seem to get over like moments of disconnection, or maybe like orgasm isn't typically achieved, or maybe you can only orgasm in one way, or maybe you're like, I've tried that, that's bullshit, like this doesn't work, like I don't orgasm, like I'm broken, right? Like all those things may be coming up if you're not actually going through what is there. And that again, like that's the key focus of masturbation, to do this mechanical process in order to orgasm, versus self pleasure, allowing yourself to go in and explore. How do you feel? How do you like being touched? Do you want to touch your pussy right now? Do you want to orgasm? What is your body saying? What thoughts are popping up? What emotions are coming up? Like what is your body calling you to move, say, do? Like all these things, right? Create this feminine energy of allowance, right? Where you're not trying to work against yourself. You're not trying to create these things as right or wrong, good or bad. You're not trying to mold or shape your experience. You're just allowing yourself to be present with what is actually there now, and actually letting go of that goal of even orgasming in that moment, orgasming in the future, like just completely letting it go and letting yourself be 100% present in what is going on now in your body, in your psyche, in your mind, and allowing that to be enough. And that can be hard, right? Because we all have like these desires that we want. But if you're coming across this point where all this striving and doing and like forcing masculine energy isn't getting you there, it is really showing you that you get to drop in more to your feminine essence so that you can work through that to get to orgasm. And the reason why you want to do that, and the reason why you really want to dive into even these things that maybe don't feel initially like orgasmic experiences, is because all those things are popping up for things that you get to clear away, for things that you get to move through. And you can actually use then your orgasm as this cleaning mechanism in your energy center. And that is what orgasmic consciousness is. It's allowing yourself to shift from one state of being, one way of seeing things, into a completely new state, a new way of approaching things, a new way of understanding like how you're feeling, what you're doing, that doesn't require you to logically think through things or change anything in your experience. So the goal of self-pleasure, again, is to allow these things to come up, to work through them, to allow them to purify you. Start finding ways where you can experience whatever is showing up, whether it's anger, sadness, fear, numbness, and allow yourself to also experience pleasure at the same time, or move back and forth between the two. Because here, what that does is that actually rewires your system to be more nourishing, more all-encompassing of your experience, where you start to feel safer with experiencing things like fear, experiencing sadness, experiencing anger and numbness, and allows you to dive deeper into where that is showing up, how that got wired into your body, so that way you can clear it. And again, this isn't a promise of like you do this once and you're going to get it. It's a practice, right? It's diving in and digging deeper. The feminine essence, right? Like things are never like one and done. It's never once you clear something, it's cleared forever, right? You get to like see the echoes as they've been moved through your body. You also get to start to see the echoes as it's been moved through just the general human consciousness in general, and finding ways where you get to shift and move out of that. Like this is the power of your orgasm. This is why female pleasure isn't typically talked about. One, because we've been so removed from it as being something acceptable to talk from. One, we just don't completely understand it. And the reason why we don't understand it is because if we're all like completely in our power, tapping into joy and bliss and learning how to live our life completely turned on, right? It challenges like this male logical paradigm of who's going to do the work, right? Like who's going to be there to serve my mission if they're serving their own, right? That this false idea that if you're in your power, you're going to be using your power. I can't access it. And you get to recalibrate, right? Like recalibrate back to your center where your power lies, where your essence lives. So that way, like you can live your life turned on. And that all starts again with just having a self-pleasure practice and taking away the focus on the outcome, taking away the focus from this mechanical, I'm going to do this just to orgasm. The focus just being, I'm going to do this and notice what feels good, what doesn't feel good, what comes up in my body, the stories I'm telling myself, the emotions that pop up, the sensations in my body, so you can get to know yourself better. And the more you work with those sensations, the more you allow your self-pleasure practice to bring pleasure into those emotions, knowing that pleasure is always there, even if you're sad, even if you're angry, even if you're confused, even if you're numb and you're not really even sure if anything is going on or not. That's what's actually going to lift, right? Like lift this compression that's been put on your body, this lid, right? That we all like at times feel like we've been living under, right? This sense of, I know there's something more. Why can't I access it? I know there's something more. I don't even know what it is. Like you feel turned off. You feel disinterested, and somehow like deep inside, you know, that's not naturally how things are supposed to be. Using your self-pleasure practice to tap into your sexuality is what's going to start blowing the lid off of that. That's what's going to start re-enlivening your system. It's what's going to clear out all this gunk that's keeping you stuck. It's going to like dive in and allow you to see again that wisdom that's held deep within your body, coming back to your truth. But first you have to commit to a practice. So I wanted to just jump in here and share this with you today because I wanted you to know like the importance of like why are we doing this? Why does this matter? Why like dedicate like these precious hours you have in the day to doing a self-pleasure practice, right? Because if you're anything like me, you have like this huge list of things, right, that you want to get to. There's these goals that you want to accomplish, right? There's this passion that's within you to like succeed in every area. And I know like sometimes I can even struggle like finding the time in the day to really dive into these practices. But this is why it is important to make the time, because once you dive into this energy, right, once you're able to activate like this orgasmic consciousness within yourself, things become clear. You know what you want to create. You know what direction you need to move in, even if it doesn't seem easy, right? Even if it doesn't necessarily make sense or it doesn't look like it's the easiest path, you trust yourself. You know where you get to go. You know what is going to turn you on, what's going to create the very thing you need, even if it doesn't necessarily work out like in your time frame. You know, like this is the path, this is the way to create, this is how things get manifested, right? This is how you create something new. Just following logic isn't going to create anything new. It's going to keep you stuck in a loop of creating the same thing over and over and over again in just different variations, because the brain, even though, or the logical brain, even though it can be very, very smart, right? It can't create something it doesn't already know. It hasn't already experienced. So if you're here wanting to create new results, you want to create like something new in your life, a new emotion, a new experience, you can't just rely on your logical brain. And this is where, again, like your sexual energy helps you, one, get into your body, right? Where you're not just in your head, feeling the sensations, allowing desire to build, allowing yourself to feel all the feels that get to get cleared, the feels that get to get amplified. So that way you can like live your life turned on. It's not just a self-gratification practice, right? We tend to think of these things, especially when it deals with pleasure, right, as not necessary or a nice to have, or if we're experiencing it, like somehow we should feel guilty or ashamed, like somehow we should be denying ourselves this. But the truth is, like, the more tapped in you are to your truth, your power, not only the more impact you can have, but the more loving, the more compassionate, the more energy you have, not only to serve yourself, but also serve those around you. And things will start to move much, much easier. So even if maybe you haven't like felt this in like an orgasmic capacity yet, I remember when I first started to feel the sensations, it was after I started practicing yoga, where I would routinely go over my lunch breaks at work, just only a couple times a week, just to get some movement. And at first, it was like again this thought of just like it just being a physical exercise for me to get some movement. But what I started to notice is when I came back to work on those days that I had gone to yoga class, I was more focused. Things moved so much smoother. I didn't feel like I had to put my hands, like get my hands involved in things so much. And it was beyond logic. Like there seemed to be no reason why things should move smoother. They just did. And the reason for that is because my energy was much, much clearer. So take that result and add your sexual energy to it, like your creative life force energy, the energy that you use to create and manifest. You're going to see these experiences tenfold. So let me know, if you already have a self-care practice or a self-pleasure practice. If you're interested in starting one, but you don't really exactly know where to start, or if, yeah, I'm rocking it, but this is where I want to get better, or here's what I really want to work on moving through, because we all have those areas. So just let me know, pop it into the chat, and I'd love to know where you're at. So I'll talk to you again next week. Bye.